Well, I went to Colombia quite a few years ago in 2006. A friend invited me to go there and work at a foundation that he was involved with, and I ended up staying a lot longer than was planned. And then it was basically in that period where I actually met my collaborators on the film. But it was only years later, like quite a few years later, that they gave me a call and had proposed the idea to make a film. It's a poetic film. It's not trying to understand a certain a certain sector of society like in an ethnographic way. It's a bit more existential, a bit more poetic than that. Obviously, in a context of in a very certain context. I don't know why everyone talks about. I haven't seen the prostitute in the film. I don't know why everyone thinks there's prostitutes in that. I don't know. And yeah, there's drug dealers in the sense that it's the lowest level, the lowest on the whole ring, So it's the street dealers and the ones who never joined any armed groups or gangs, and the ones who are kind of getting left behind, pushed out, displaced by more organized groups, and so these are older guys, and they're just trying to stay independent, trying to stay true, and it's kind of a story about their getting pushed out and their poetic resistance and survival. I didn't spend time with any kind of people. I just spent time with some friends that I met many years ago, and I kept going back to Colombia, doing other things there, and I spent a lot of time in Colombia for the past 8 years or so. So I wouldn't really consider it research so much as just working with friends on a project kind of based on our experiences together and the experiences of other friends. Well, the idea came, one of the protagonists called me. I was actually in New York at the time, and he proposed that we make a film about them and about music. So that was kind of the point of departure for the film, just to make a film about music. And so from there we kind of just developed the ideas together based on experiences we had, and I hope it's about music. I think deep down it still is about music. It's not a musical, but that's the main structure. And there was no musicians in the film. There were some dancers, some excellent street dancers who, and basically, if you want to talk in film production terms, I casted it before I wrote it. I mean, I knew who was going to play the characters, I mean, salsa is just it's kind of an umbrella term, and when salsa became globalized in the 60s, 70s, and became commercialized, so, when you use that word, it kind of, yeah, sure, mambo was one of the original forms and genres that salsa came out of, mambo, somontuno, cha-cha-cha, but in the 70s, especially, in many places, and especially in Colombia, they would just refer salsa to all these Afro-Cuban danceable rhythms. And yeah, so a lot of the protagonists, they're kind of an older generation, and the generation that really identified with salsa and its boom in the 70s, 80s. And it's quite an important part of their identity and their nostalgia, and in this sense, it's important to their story and their situation in the city and in relation to other parts of society. It's kind of absent of this idea of marginalization and of filming, quote unquote marginalized populations and etc. I mean, I actually really dislike that word because it implies that the so-called marginalized want to be or envy or want to be like the so-called unmarginalized. So I mean, the people depicted in the film, they have a certain lifestyle that they've chosen, and they have a lot of values that other sectors of society don't have been losing, which they value music, free time, friendship, which is an important part of the film, loyalty over fidelity, and you know, in spite of all the other problems, betrayal, economic problems, that sickness that they may confront in that environment. And it's a collaboration. The film is very much a collaboration. I mean, it was their idea to make the film. They feel very proud of the film. It's their film. In terms of the division of labor of filmmaking, I guess there has to be a director and just to organize things, and we both brought things to the table, and it was a very collaborative process.